Hello, good evening and welcome to Business Live. Coming up in this bulletin, President Donald Trump reveals plans to target pharmaceutical products entering the U.S. market. We'll find out the impact of this on exports from Ghana. We'll also be finding out the state of manufacturing drugs locally in Ghana. Meanwhile, government expresses optimism to renegotiate the 10% tariff imposed on Ghana by the Trump administration.
80-day reprieve from the reciprocal tariff arrangement provide us with the opportunity to renegotiate terms for a potential reduction, and in my heart, 0%.
Plus, Ghana Stock Exchange advocates stable economic policy to African corporate bonds more attractive.
Need is a stable macroeconomic environment where the cost of funding, the cost of doing business makes us in Ghana competitive.
We have details of this and more lined up for you. Please stay on. Thanks so much. You could join me. I am Pius Kojobaka. Looking at our stories, and President Donald Trump has announced that he will soon move to place tariffs on all pharmaceutical products imported from the country. Now, but what would be the impact of this development on pharmaceutical products from Ghana? Also, what is the state of local drug manufacturing? And we want to explore these two angles. Let's get on to Zoom and speak with the Executive Secretary of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, Reverend Dennis Sena Awiti, for more on this developing story we are learning. Thanks so much, sir, for agreeing to speak to us on Business Live. And I want to know whether your members access the U.S. market when it comes to exports.
Good evening, George.
This is Pius.
Oh, Pius, thank you very much, Pius. So, yes, I mean, Ghana is not strong on export of pharmaceuticals to the Western world, and especially the US. We are not that strong. If you look at the data available, 2023, 2020, 2020 downwards, it's below $100,000. I think in 2024, we saw a remarkable increase to about $270,000 in terms of export. But we need to break the aggregated data down to be able to know what exactly is in there, because I see the aggregate as human sera, blood products, sterile pharmaceuticals. So we need to know exactly what these are. But compared to what we import from the United States, which in 2020 was about 1.95 USD millions, and then in 2023, 4.15, which is compared to what Ghana imports and exports from the US. There's a trade balance in pharmaceuticals, so putting a tariff on pharmaceuticals importation from Ghana, I don't think will have much impact on us. But generally in the sector for manufacturing, we need to boost local manufacturing so that the exports we do to the sub-region and elsewhere, we can be able to then rely less and less on imported pharmaceuticals while we develop and grow our sector.
But do you believe that Ghana has the right infrastructure to absorb the shocks? Like you mentioned, you say this is much ado about nothing, basically, because you wouldn't feel that impact. But again, do you feel we have that infrastructure in place to absorb the shocks?
We are still growing, we are still developing. I think with the right policies, we should be able to gradually develop and get to that stage. Amongst even the local pharmaceutical importers, there is a strong push for those who are importing their own brands of medicines from elsewhere, India, China, and the likes, to now concentrate on doing local contract manufacturing, and they are engaging the local manufacturers and then to be able to do that. So, and while others are also seriously looking at building their own pharmaceutical manufacturing plants here. So, for me, I think that Rome was not built in a day. We should, whilst we are consuming, we should look at the things that we consume, things that we need most, and we start from there and build the industry. Currently, between 30 to 40% of all our local needs in terms of pharmaceuticals are manufactured locally. However, if you look at the input that goes into that manufacturing, APIs, the active pharmaceutical ingredients. So if you say paracetamol, the tablet paracetamol contains the active ingredient with paracetamol, but other things like the binding agents and the other things that are involved to cause the medicine to be a complete medicine, complete medicine, you are able to manufacture them locally. Otherwise, for when you take a locally manufactured medicine, about 90% of what the medicine is also imported, even though it is manufactured locally. So we should be able to build capacity in not only saying we are manufacturing locally, but in terms of the inputs, the excipients, the active pharmaceutical ingredients, and even the technology, so that we are able to then holistically grow the industry, and we are able or more than able to do that.
So talking about growing the local industry, Ghana, we know, is expected to manufacture some 60% of drugs and vaccines locally by 2040. And I'm wondering whether that is achievable.
I think when you set, it's a brave and a bold target. I don't think we should set the target and go to sleep. We should put in milestones. We should put in policies. We should monitor and evaluate and be able to commit resources to it. So, for instance, if you want to be able to do that, you have things to do. You need, so there are market for certain products in Ghana, which are manufactured locally. What is the decision? Government is the biggest buyer. Is there a deliberate policy to buy locally? I've heard the Minister of Finance made that bold assertion, but can we walk the talk? So beyond the talk, we should be able to walk the talk by putting in structures, monitoring mechanisms for the implementation of such policies. Whether 2040 is realistic or not, I think it is when we start that we'll know what inputs are needed for the output, so that we can have the coverage and then the impact that is needed. So we should get to work and then see what we need to add as we go along.
That's fine. Let me find this from you quickly. I know tomorrow you'll be holding your Maiden Farmer Excellence Awards. Tell us about the rationale about this move and how it will impact the pharmaceutical industry and, of course, players as a whole.
Great. So thank you so much. So the Farmer Excellence Awards is the maiden edition, and the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana has been in existence. This year will be, I believe, our 90th year in existence, from pre-Gold Coast, and to now. And we think that where we have gotten to with our pharmaceutical industry, where it is going to, we should have a very transparent, very much of a peer-reviewed award system that rewards innovation, that is looked at by peers of reviewers and then properly monitored for integrity, so that when you receive such an award, you are motivated to do more. And others who see you being rewarded or awarded for what you've done will aspire to do it. And when you have such an award, your peers know that it went through the scrutiny that such an award will have to go through. So we started even with a category of 28 awards, but the entries we received, the panel of judges and reviewers thought that the quality was not good enough, and so 5 of them have been dropped, and we are left with 23. And so we think that is something that will help our overall goal to make Ghana a pharmaceutical manufacturing hub, to be able to produce the vaccines that rather we import so much, and also be able to even use Ghana as a base for the US to even manufacture some of their products here. If we can get our facilities to attain WHO pre-qualification for manufacturing of some products, we can move the country forward.
Very well. Thank you so much, Reverend Dennis Agwiti. He is the Executive Secretary of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana. We truly appreciate your time, sir. Now, let's stay a while longer on tariff matters, because the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejare, has expressed confidence in the government's ability to renegotiate the 10% tariff imposed on Ghana by the Trump administration following a 90-day suspension announced over the past 2 days. Now, speaking at a stakeholder engagement in Accra to assess the impact of the tariff across various sectors, Mrs. Ofosu-Ejare emphasized the urgent need to strengthen Ghana's trade-related infrastructure in order to fully leverage the opportunities presented by AFTA.
According to the International Trade Center, U.S. import from Ghana reached $1.21 billion in 2024, while export to Ghana totaled $967 million, resulting in a trade surplus of $244 million in Ghana's favor. This accounts for approximately 4.5% of Ghana's total export for the year. During a stakeholder engagement in Accra, Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejare, expressed confidence in the government's ability to renegotiate with U.S. authorities to have the 10% tariff completely eliminated.
As of last night, before I went to bed, the United States paused its earlier arrangements, which placed all its trading partners under a uniform 10% tariff band for 90 days. This 90-day reprieve from the reciprocal tariff arrangement provide us with the opportunity to renegotiate terms for a potential reduction, and in my heart, 0%. The 90-day pause also provides us with the opportunity to assess the full impact of the tariff and adopt various strategies to mitigate the immediate impact on our trade and economy.
She also outlined key measures being taken by government to build economic resilience, particularly by leveraging the opportunities presented by the African Continental Free Trade Area.
We are committed to implementing initiatives such as accelerated export development programs and rapid industrialization for jobs, as well as 24-hour economy policy, as envisioned by His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, to build economic resilience and to boost production and improve market access. I'm reliably informed that the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat will be hosting African trade ministers to deliberate on this matter. To capitalize on these opportunities, Ghana will act decisively by strengthening its trade diplomacy to preserve preferential access where possible, while also enhancing its investment promotion strategy. This includes improving trade-related infrastructure, streamlining regulatory procedures, and offering targeted incentives for export-oriented investments.
And to some other stories, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, has expressed the bad state of some financial positions of some domestic and state-owned banks in the country. Dr. Isiama highlighted this issue during the post-monetary Policy Committee engagement with heads of commercial banks. There's more in this report.
While highlighting this concern, the Bank of Ghana governor remained unclear about pressing ahead with recapitalization plans for these banks.
The industry remains solvent, recording a capital adequacy ratio of 14.35%, above the regulatory minimum of 10%, with most banks maintaining capital adequacy ratios above thresholds. Nonetheless, colleagues, solvency concerns persist for a few domestically controlled and state-owned banks, where recapitalization efforts remain unclear.
Dr. Siama, however, maintained he remains committed to dealing with this challenge.
Addressing the capital shortfalls in these banks remains a priority going forward. We are working closely with the affected institutions to achieve sustainable capital levels, restore depositor confidence, and ensure compliance with regulatory requirements. Colleagues, our supervisory engagement has intensified to assess the credibility of recapitalization strategies and to mitigate potential systemic implications.
The Bank of Ghana governor announced that they will be moving to deal with the high non-performing loans amongst commercial banks. There was some advice for the commercial banks when it comes to importing their international credit risk measures.
Private sector credit is also recovering, but credit risk remains elevated. Non-performing loans have risen, largely due to growth in legacy exposures, as the NPL ratio stood at about 22.6% as at February 2025. Excluding the fully provisioned loss category loans, the adjusted NPL ratio was 8.9%. And let me say that we'll be embarking on a special exercise to address these issues.
Dr. Johnson Isiama maintained that commercial banks may have to do more when it comes to strengthening their internal controls.
To address rising credit risks, we want to urge all banks to strengthen their risk management frameworks, to improve underwriting, their early warning systems, and provisioning practices.
Despite highlighting these concerns, Dr. Johnson Isiama was optimistic about the sector's outlook. He also announced that they have reviewed their recovery and regulation tools to deal with future distress.
We are pausing for a breather. We'll be right back with more. Hello, welcome back to the program. Managing Director for the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abinamwa, is advocating for a stable macroeconomy in Africa to attract more investors into the corporate bond market. According to her, this will bring down the cost of doing business and thereby get many entrepreneurs to participate in the bond market. She was speaking to journalists after a short ceremony to open the West African Bond Market Conference here in Accra.
The conference, hosted by the Ghana Stock Exchange, assembled investors and financial market stakeholders to deliberate on strategies to shape the regional bond market. Speaking to journalists after delivering her opening address, Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abnamwa, highlighted the need for a stable economy to attract more entrepreneurs onto the market.
The first way to make a corporate bond market attractive is through stability in the economic environment. Recently, we are seeing a lot of interest and excitement from potential issuers that they are seeing the treasury bill rates come down. At 15%, it means that a company in Ghana has a better opportunity to be able to borrow money, invest in the business because their cost of capital is lower than 30%, than borrowing at a bank rate of 30%. Who won't prefer borrowing at single digits versus borrowing at double digits or high rates? So the first thing we need is a stable macroeconomic environment where the cost of funding, the cost of doing business makes us in Ghana competitive.
Chief Executive of the International Capital Markets Association, Brian Pascoe, on his part, said that governments can lead initiatives to grow a long yield for investors.
I think first and foremost, that the government should look to establish a longer-term yield curve. Right now, the issuance is very focused on short-term activities. There are other elements as well, such as encouraging market makers to provide liquidity in bond markets, and also some other products such as repo market development, which can be used for funding using the bonds as collateral to help banks and other market practitioners finance themselves. Using existing bonds is an important feature of typically deep and resilient bond markets.
Ghana's capital market has experienced exciting times recently following the decline in interest rates since last month.
Regional Director for CATS International, Kusiapi Adumako, has advised government not to rely only on online registration, but to include society, churches, and marketplaces as part of the same re-registration centers. Now, this follows moves by government to begin the re-registration from July 1. Mr. Kusis Adumako spoke to Joy Business.
I think that not everyone is online. When you go to the market, people may have access to internet on WhatsApp, but as to the process of taking a selfie and also having their fingerprint taken by their phone, not many people can do that. So whilst the online is laudable as it will help the middle class and the upper class, I think that government also needs to have, government can also compare the telcos to have registration hubs, especially in the market and the lorry terminals and churches, so that those who find themselves outside the metropolis of the digital connectivity will be able to get support in having their SIM card re-registered.
Director General of the Cybersecurity Authority, Divine Agbeti, is urging businesses to invest significantly in cybersecurity to safeguard critical assets and prevent financial losses. Speaking at the CISO Summit 2025, Mr. Agbeti emphasized the need to integrate cybersecurity into corporate strategy to enhance awareness culture within organizations.
The Cisco Summit 2025 focused on confronting the rapidly evolving landscape of cybersecurity threat, developing resilient security strategies, and promoting the exchange of critical cybersecurity insights. According to Divine Selassie Agbeti, Director General of the Cybersecurity Authority, businesses must prioritize cybersecurity as an integral part of the organizational strategy.
The authority is clear that all financial institutions should have a cybersecurity department, and those departments should be accredited with us, and their professionals should be accredited with the authority. So it is the responsibility of the individual financial institutions to ensure that threat hunting occurs regularly and risk assessments occur regularly in those institutions, and they are actually making sure that the risks are being addressed as identified. If they're having issues and they need any form of direction, we are happy to step in and guide those institutions.
Meanwhile, Ambassador of the State of Israel to Ghana, Roy Gillard, emphasized the need for international collaboration to drive growth and innovation in the cybersecurity sector.
We're leaning on cooperation between the government and the private sector. And also, we know, as you all know, that in order to succeed facing all the very many challenges that are coming day in and day out, we have to share intelligence, all of us, and we have to think together about strategic solutions. Israel is having many solutions that might be relevant to the needs in Ghana.
Chief Business Officer at Innovate Group, Albert Texan, stressed the importance of cultivating a culture of cybersecurity awareness.
We are talking about people's data. We are talking about financial data of clients. This is very key because at the end of the day, if you are hacked, if your organization is hacked, you can imagine how much money you're likely to lose. Sometimes when we talk about cybersecurity, people think, oh, I mean, what is cybersecurity? It's just a technology problem. No, it's not. It's actually a people problem, and everybody needs to get on board and understand. And personally, I think it's just because most people don't really understand the whole cybersecurity concept. It's not a technology problem alone, but more of a people problem.
The Cisco Summit is a high-level event that brought together senior cybersecurity executives, professionals, and subject matter experts from various industries.
And right about now, I'd like to take you to myjoyonline.com/business to read some great stories you have on that portal. BOG moves towards risk-sensitive regulation for banks. Also on that portal, exercise prudence in adjusting lending rates up. That's according to the BOG governor to banks. And also, Kumasi restaurants waste over $2 million in edible food annually. That's according to KNUS study finds. We have more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. I am Pius Kojo Baka. Always a delight serving you. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.